Hey guys, it's Mason here from Fantasy Rant presented by StadiumRant, here to bring you this week's waiver wire pickups. And I want to get straight into it, not wasting your time. I know you guys all came here to see obviously who we should be targeting this week. At the quarterback position, we'll start there. The first one I'm targeting is Jameis Winston. We obviously saw Derek Carr go down. That injury is still a little unknown. Winston could be a decent streaming option, but I'm still kind of just picking him up if you're in a super flex league. One QB leagues, I think he's kind of okay to avoid. Carr looks like he might only be out a week or so. So Winston, he's an option there in super flex leagues if someone you should be targeting. The quarterback I'm more targeting this week, though, however, is going to be Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton had an excellent week 3. He was QB7, actually, which is pretty surprising. Some people put up 27.54 points in standard. That's pretty impressive. He might be their starter again next week, and if he is starting, I think he's a great streaming option. We'll have to obviously see if Bryce Young is going to be back or not. If Bryce Young's playing, we expect Bryce Young will be the starting QB for the Carolina Panthers. However, Andy Dalton has a great matchup. Carolina has a great matchup week 4 against a weak Vikings defense. We know one we've seen struggle, give up a good amount of fantasy points through 3 weeks. So I think if Andy Dalton is honestly, if he is starting there, I think he's worth throwing into your lineup if you aren't stuck in that streaming QB option. But that's going to just be it for QBs. Nothing too much. Those are really the only two that I'm looking at. And then we'll switch to RBs. We had Devon Achane, the rookie from Miami, obviously blow up this week. But if you play fantasy, you should know that. And honestly, he should be your number one waiver wire target this week. He was electric. Obviously, he put up 50 points, and Raheem Mostert still put up 45. You're not going to see that. You should not expect Achane to be putting up necessarily 50 points again. Not something that we're looking at, but I think with how good he did, we're going to see a lot more usage from him out of that backfield. Jeff Wilson is coming back, but I think this game with A-Chain showed that he is going to be very utilized inside that backfield. Why wouldn't they with the performance he had in week 3? He's only rostered in about 46 leagues right now, 46% of leagues right now. So, there's a 50-50 shot. He's a free agent in yours. If you do FAAB, he's probably going to be the highest bid waiver of the week. So if you do want him, I suggest investing a lot into picking him up. But switching it to the next running back, we have CEH. He hasn't put up any numbers to really astonish anyone yet. Pacheco is the lead back in that backfield. We do have Pacheco with a little bit of injury concerns, though, which helps CEH's case. He seems to be the number 2 RB, at least on the ground in Kansas City. McKinnon looks like he's the passing back, which, obviously does bring CEH's value down. Which actually finished as RB17 last week. It was helped out by a touchdown. He's not going to really produce those numbers all the time. They played the Bears, and if you watch that game, you know that Kansas City beat the crap out of the Bears. So the game plan obviously was favoring the ground. I'm more picking up CH, not necessarily to start him next week, but I think, a good choke, good handcuff to have in case that injury with Pacheco does keep nagging onto him and he does miss time. Or, CH is just someone you sit on your bench, and when you see a good matchup that the Chiefs should be dominating and we're going to see a good run game being used, I think CH is definitely worth a stash just for that. The third running back, it is also more of a stash. It is a more interesting pickup as someone who I am targeting is Trey Sermon. The only really reason behind this is it looks like he is going to be the RB2, at least for now, in Indianapolis. Zach Moss, we've seen injuries. He came into the season injured. Obviously it was an arm injury, so it's not something that lingers, but, injuries are injuries. It's just an interesting pickup, in my opinion, because he's solely a backup in a backfield that is very unknown. Zach Moss has had 2 great weeks in a row, but we still got some uncertainty of, is he going to continue to be that lead back? Trey Sermon has some upside. You're not going to have to bid too much on him, in my opinion, as far as FAB. You might have some people throw a couple bucks down on him, but I think Trey Sermon is a good little deep pickup. Obviously, if you're only rostering like 15, including your starters and bench, that's 15. I don't think Trey Sermon's necessarily worth the pickup, but in deeper leagues, I definitely think he finally has a value where he is worth putting a little bit of your waiver money into and acquiring. And he is only rostered in about 33% of leagues right now, so he most likely is available in yours. The only ones he's really not available in right now are people who snagged him before the game, because he never knew, backup running back could have had some upside. Some people snagged him, um, or deep dynasty league. So if you're in a redraft league, he should be available for you, because all these roster percentages I am going off sleeper, which they do dynasty as well. So odds are a little shifted as far as redraft goes. But and then we're going to just switch it to the wide receivers. So the first couple guys I'm going to talk about are two Chargers receivers. We got Quentin Johnston and Joshua Palmer. Obviously, Mike Williams went out in week 3 at season-ending injury. So we're going to be looking at who's going to be Herbert's real number 2 behind Keenan Allen. So in my opinion, I'm more targeting Quentin. Palmer's not a bad pickup either. Palmer's going to be a lot easier to get. Quentin Johnson is rostered in 51% around leagues right now. Palmer's only rostered in 5. I think Quentin Johnson's going to be probably the top wide receiver target for a lot of people this week, just because he's in the high-powered passing offense, and Mike Williams did go down. They did invest a first-rounder into Quentin Johnson. That's why I'm giving him the up. He hasn't done anything really so far in the season, but I definitely think, though, that will change with Mike Williams going up. And I do think it's worth a pickup for sure. But same with Palmer. I don't think it's as likely he's going to have as relevant as a role as Johnston. He's not going to fill the gap or anything that Mike Williams was. But, there is a lot of upside in that pick. He's only rostered in 5% of leagues. You might have some people trying to pick him up. I saw he was one of the top trending players actually right now, as far as free agents in most leagues. So you might have to fight a little harder for him than think, but like Quentin Johnson should be your go-to guy if you can get him. But Palmer is also there if you do miss on Quentin and you want a little more upside, in my opinion, for less of a risk. But so for the next receiver, we're going Carolina. So I'm going to start out with talking about Thielen there. Thielen had an amazing week, finished as wide receiver 3, putting up 31.5 points. That's just astonishing. Obviously, we had Andy Dalton there instead of Bryce Young, so that could kind of change up the whole entire situation of, how productive he will be when Bryce Young is back there. But to counter that, week 2, he also put up 20.4 points, finishing him as wide receiver 16, which, wide receiver 16 for a guy that's only rostered on 58% of rosters. That's pretty solid production. I think he's getting very undervalued right now. Obviously, after he put up wide receiver 3 numbers, more people are going to be targeting him compared to last week, especially if Dalton is, playing again this week and is going to be their starter. You're going to have a lot of people going aggressive after Thielen, maybe trying to get him in a spot start in week 4. And then to Carolina's other receiver, I'm also targeting DJ Chark a little bit. I'm definitely not playing DJ Chark this week unless Dalton is their starting quarterback. I believe Bryce Young DJ Chark missed week 1. Bryce Young, I think, only threw the ball to him like once or twice week 2. It wasn't a very productive week 2. But in week 3, Chark did actually put up 18.6 points and finished as wide receiver 15. He is currently only rostered in about 15% of leagues. He shouldn't be that hard to get. Everyone's going to have their mind on Thielen. I think it's definitely worth a spot. DJ Chark is going to be either the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Him and Thielen throughout the season are going to have some splits. So with how low he's rostered, I think Chark is definitely someone you could be targeting. And another receiver that I'm targeting this week is Tyler Boyd, actually. I'm more doing this. This came after, obviously, T. Higgins left the game tonight, Monday night's game. That injury's still a little unknown, but if T. Higgins is out, I think Tyler Boyd's a pickup, and you might be thinking Tyler Boyd isn't a free agent in most leagues. He actually is only rostered in about 52% of leagues right now. If T. Higgins is out, I do think Boyd could have a potential big week, filling in for Higgins. Obviously, the Cincinnati offense has started off slow. Boyd, even week 2, week 3, put up like 10 to 12 points. Pretty decent. Week 1 obviously doesn't count. That whole offense was horrible, but he's put up decent numbers where you're looking. Where I'm satisfied keeping Boyd as, even if Higgins is playing, as my like wide receiver 4, maybe 5 if you had a deeper roster. But yeah, no, if Higgins is out, I think the Cincinnati offense will improve. Obviously, Joe Burrow's injury is a little concerning with how he will play the rest of the season. But I think Boyd, he's a good pickup for only being rostered 50. I believe I said 52%, and that's just something that I think he's a good target to go after. But for the last wide receiver, we're going to be talking about Tank Dell, who we have been saying pick up. Me and my fellow Fantasy Rant co-host, we've been telling you to pick up Tank Dell. I really hope you did, because now it's going to get a little harder for him. Obviously, this week he went off, put up 25.5. Week 2, he put up 20.2. And he's currently only rostered in 48%. I'm expecting that number to go up to 90% after waivers drop. Tank Dell seems to be the true explosive wide receiver in Houston. CJ Stroud honestly looks pretty good, a lot better than a lot of people were expecting him to start out in his rookie season. Be a very high-powered, super high-powered, but pretty productive passing game that a lot of people did not expect. Go roster Tank Dell if you can. He's going to be someone who you're going to have to spend some FAAB if you got him, or if you just do a waiver order and you're one of the last ones, you're probably not going to get him. But if you can, definitely throw on a pickup for Tank Dell. And then for the last position that we're going to talk about is tight end. I'll go over this one pretty quick because most of these guys are just guys I'm looking at backups. They're not really tight ends you want to start. Tight ends is an iffy position, and I think having a backup tight end who has a decent floor is what you should be targeting. And I'm going to go with Gerald Everett, although he hasn't done anything crazy or nothing like that. Obviously, the Mike Williams injury gives him a lot of upside, and that's more what I'm looking at with the Everett pick. Not a ton of consistency, but more the upside now that Mike Williams is out. He's only rostered in about 30% of leagues. And I'm going Noah Fant, who I've drafted heavy this offseason as my backup tight end. He's only rostered in 7% of leagues right now. His numbers aren't the greatest because week 1 he put up a goose egg, but week 2 and 3 he put up, like, I don't have the stats up in front of me, but he put up like 7 to 10 points week 2 and 3, which as a tight end who's only rostered 7% of leagues, that's someone you're looking at as a solid backup who, if you got Trav, if you got Mark Andrews and they're out, or, their bye week, I think Fant's going to be a good guy that you can plug in for that week. And then for the last tight end, last player of the day, I'm going Luke Musgrave. I'm not expecting a ton of him yet. Like, he's been productive, solid, nothing worth starting in your lineups yet. But I'm targeting him because he looks like he's improving. That whole offense is young. They're improving. They're missing a lot of players. It really is a banged up team. And in Dynasty, I'm loving Musgrave. I'll just say that. Obviously, we're more talking redraft week to week right now. But no, I'm picking up Musgrave as a backup with some up, just for the hope of the upside that he continues to develop. Jordan Love continues to develop with and within this offense. And yeah, that's just really what it is. I mean, no tight ends really did anything this week that I think are worth a starting shot on your lineup. But I thought I'd throw in some backups that you could be looking at if your rosters are deep enough to be holding a backup tight end. But, so that's going to wrap it up. It wasn't the longest waiver wire list, but these are pretty much most of the guys that I'm targeting this week on waivers. And I know other people will be targeting them too. But thank you for watching. If you want more fantasy content, Fantasy Rant will be live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time every single Wednesday night. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.